Hello there, welcome. Thank you for joining us on today's edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo. Today on the Hangout, Donald Trump inaugurated as American president, Adama Barrow sworn in as the Gambia's president, as Yahya Jammeh stays put, and Osinbajo takes charge as Buhari goes on vacation. On the Hangout today, I have Moji Jamiu and Shola Ojeusi. And Journalist Hangout starts now. Donald Trump is headed to the Capitol right about now, and he'll be sworn in as the 45th President of the United States. He won in November's election after a controversial campaign period. We'll leave you with a live feed from Capitol before the discussion starts proper. Stay with Journalist Hangout.
Vice President-elect Pence.
Thank you, sir. Good to be back. Hello. Hello, everybody.
Are you going to reverse the immigration order in the next few days?
Congratulations, sir.
That's right. Thank you. Okay, Laura, we're moving.
Ladies and gentlemen, the children of President-elect Trump, Donald Trump Jr., Ivanka Trump, Eric Trump, Tiffany Trump, and Barron Trump, escorted by the Senate Majority Secretary Laura Dodd and the House of Representatives Chief Administrative Officer Philip G. Kiko.
Now, beneath this calm, before this moment, there were protests and series of protests which have characterized Trump's inauguration across America. And we begin to wonder if that would deter the man who braved all odds to win arguably the most historic American election. A Trump family there arriving, and before then we also saw Secretary Hillary Clinton, who lost to Donald Trump in the November 8 election. Welcome, gentlemen. Moji Jamiu, thank you. Shola Ojeosi, welcome. Now, let's start with the protests. Of course, it has far-reaching implications for this inauguration. What will be going through the mind of America's president-elect, who would become president in just a few moments from now? What are your thoughts?
I don't think Trump is bothered by protests. I mean, I see a situation where after his inauguration, the first tweet he will send out is for the protesters. But for how long you continue to tweet, we'll get to see that post-inauguration today, probably during the dinner ball. For the protesters, yeah, they have every right to protest, and they're even saying this is just like a preamble. I mean, the main protest is scheduled for tomorrow, and all over America, and even up until Canada. The United States Embassy in Canada had to issue a warning to American citizens to be careful, I mean, to be security conscious. So, yeah, they have a legitimate right to protest because, especially given the fact that after the result of the elections, which eventually came out about 3 weeks or a month after, I mean, we saw that Hillary Clinton actually won the popular votes with more than 3 million, and there are speculations back and forth about the involvement of Russians in the result of the election. So that's why some people are protesting. But then the protests won't stop what is going on. And you can see that from the pictures we've seen, even the person who lost the election, unlike Yaya Jammeh.
Smiling.
Yeah,
she's there.
Hillary, Secretary Clinton is there,
someone
smiling.
said earlier that it's the spirit of America, you know.
Yeah, that is
gallant even in defeat.
That's what makes America very great and makes it the best democracy
in the world.
I think
and this is the second defeat for Secretary Hillary Clinton.
We should doff our caps, our hearts for the American system. It's huge, you know, in spite of all, in spite of the misgivings. We had a very volatile campaign.
Just a minute there. We were still receiving live feed from Capitol, venue of the inauguration of the 45th President of America, Donald Trump. Go ahead, Shola.
Yeah, as I was saying, it's a kind of, it's a tribute to the American system that, I mean, despite all those, the volatility of the electioneering, we're able to have this kind of day. You can see Hillary there smiling. No matter what is inside her, she has shown that this is democracy working. I mean, in contrast with, you know, as I was coming into the studio, though I heard that Jammeh is coming down, because I heard that it said the ECOWAS should give him maybe a few more hours, you know, before
we'll get to Jammeh.
So, but let's
stay with America.
Talking of the American system, you asked the question, what should be in the mind of Trump? The Trump that we had during the campaigns, it should not be the Trump that will take over from Obama in a few minutes' time. It should graduate from the rabble-rouser, from the showbiz man, from the apprentice chief to the commander-in-chief of the most powerful nation in the world. That transition should be plain right from the first word, from the word go. Trump should see himself now that he's leading a nation where whatever happens affects the entirety of the globe. People say when an American sneezes, the whole world, when America catches cold, the whole world sneezes.
When America sneezes, the whole world catches cold.
What happens now is he should be on top of that leadership. Now, people have been talking about legacy. What we have from Obama is a huge legacy for him to prove. you mentioned something about being the most historic election. I still want to believe that the coming of Obama would be the most historic because that was the time when the glass ceiling started being broken. So what he's going to do is how he's going to step into the huge shoes
The question is because this protest place a burden of legitimacy on his presidency, even though he won constitutionally.
Yeah,
so
statistically.
what would it take for him to mature into the Trump that will carry the office of president
if I were
of America?
Trump, I would know that just a tiny, in terms of figures, I mean, by opinion or whatever, we have about 44% of Americans supporting him. As against when Obama came in, he had about 83 approval ratings when he was coming in. That shows that almost 56% of the nation is really skeptical. Now he has to prove a point.
Not just skeptical, not in support.
Well, they're not in support, but we thank God for the system. Whatever your misgivings, you still have to go along with the commander-in-chief because the system, the laws have put him there. But the onus is on the man Trump to now even disappoint the people because what people are expecting is a very volatile presidency, a kind of presidency that's not given to dignity. But he has to be mindful of history because before you know it, 4 years will fly away and people will be talking of legacy. So he should be mindful of that legacy that, okay, everybody is, so proud of Obama. No matter what you feel, no matter your opinion, about maybe your position, whether you're a Democrat or whatever, there is a kind of groundswell of appreciation. When you have about 60% of the nation saying, thank you, Obama, it shows he has to also be conscious of what will happen.
70% by my last check.
Oh, great.
70% rating.
Yes, and you can see that kind of feeling of, oh, this guy is good. There is a kind of nostalgia about Obama. So now that he's coming, there are a lot of issues. He has a lot of things, coming from his campaign. So he has to learn how to unite the nation. It's just unprecedented to have a very divided nation the way we have it in the United States of America now. So the onus is on him to be presidential. And how do you get presidential? You have to leave all those garbage of him. The issues that you were using. He came on the ladder of division. He cashed in on the fears of a very last section of the American populace. But he has to live beyond that. He should see himself now, not as the president of the whites of America, but the president of the blacks, the Hispanics, everybody involved. So he has to be not just a student of history, but he should be a maker of history. And it's left to him. The buck stops on his table.
And the issues, come in different shades and sizes. You're on to Journalist Hangout. Time for a break now. Stay with us. There'll be more. Still on to Journalist Hangout on TVC Nigeria. And joining us now on the Hangout is Asukwo James.
Yeah, good evening.
Asukwo, you're welcome.
Thank you so
We've been looking at the Trump inauguration and the protests trailing this inauguration and the burden of legitimacy it places on the Trump administration. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think Donald Trump actually started in a very frosty and a very bad way, even though he won the election through the electoral votes, the popular vote still, puts him way below Hillary Clinton. But the Americans, they have an history, and the history is about your president has to come through the electoral votes, not like ours, which is the popular vote. So if he actually won through that process, I think they have to let go. But my fear and concern is about the person Donald Trump. He has refused, even when after the election, he has refused to let go of his Twitter handle, always going on Twitter and trying to cause commotion where there is none. Especially his relationship with even the Americans, and he has even now gone to Europe, where he is now after the German Chancellor, recently he had issues with the German chancellor, and I think if it continues this way, who wants America to be great might end up having an American government that is a weakling, because you, as a giant, you shouldn't see yourself, being a bully, because in being a bully, you're even exposing yourself the more, and people find your weakness and begin to capitalize on it. And so I want to believe that his new handlers, the new handlers of Donald Trump, will talk to him and let him see himself as being the America or a president of the whole world, not the president of the Twitter and the president who will be
of the electoral college alone.
The electoral college alone, who will begin to see himself as the president of only people who actually voted for him, because that is where I'm beginning to see him having these issues. So I want to see a presidency that is the American presidency who will be able to handle issues, and the issues will not only be about America, because he has so many things. He has been saying something about tax reduction and deportation, and even imposing taxes on imported cars into America. And I don't know if he will still build the wall, against Mexico and co. So he has so many issues, and he has to sit down. His new handlers have to sit him down and let him realize that during the campaigns are over. This is the real thing. This is the real world. And the real world, America becomes the superpower of the world. And being the superpower of the world, we have to bring everybody together and begin to detect to the rest of the world. And if they sink that into his brain, he should be able to leave his Twitter handle and begin to handle issues.
Now, the strong point, the common thread here is he has to have a listening ear to his handlers, to his strategists, because it's going to require more than, developing character that was not seen during the campaigns, but, working with a team. But rarely are we going to see a Trump having a listening ear, working along with his handlers?
Well, as the president of America, he has no choice. There's also a system. When you are going off the line, there are checks that will put you back in line. But beyond America, this man has said a lot of things that has put a lot of agreements. Traditional friends of America, they are really afraid, because imagine a statement about NATO being outdated in a world where Russia is over asserting itself in Ukraine, in some other countries, trying to bring back the
Syria.
old Russian system of, imperialism, somehow, so to say. When you have traditional friends, the first thing an American president does is to at least reassure that the main focus of our foreign policy is this and that. We are going to be faithful to our agreements. But when you see him trying to say things that tend to be somewhat critical of people like Germany, Angela Merkel, even the UK, then you begin to have a lot of it, because
so we're not going to have a listening Trump.
So he has to be very, very wary of what he says now. But I think Trump should not be a fool. He comes in under the mantra of making America great again. If he really wants to make America great, because already there is a kind of dent on that greatness. In a situation where the commander-in-chief to-be is becoming the butt of jokes around the world, then there is something wrong. And he has to be on top of that. The essence of the American leadership is dignity. And it's also leadership beyond the run-of-the-mill kind of leadership you have around the world. So he has to know that the Trump that was the CEO of the Trump group is different from the Trump that will be the CEO of the United States of America.
Now, Hillary Clinton had said during the campaigns that he doesn't have the temperament to be president, that imagine what Trump would do with nuclear weapons in his hands. Majid, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, exactly. Not only Secretary Clinton now, even Michelle Obama, said, also asserted that fact that it would be disastrous to have a Trump handling the nuke code. And I'm not convinced that we are going to see a different Trump that ran that hate campaign, that divisive campaign, from the Trump that will be president. I don't have that conviction that we are going to see any marked difference, except for the fact, like Shola said, except for the fact that we have a system in place. But then I hope it won't be too late for the system to check him, because this is somebody that is very assertive. It behaves as if as if you have a Brazilian team playing Agidingbi primary school, and it's supposed to be a friendly match, and you see the likes of Ronaldo saying that they are going to deal with Agidingbi primary school. We already know that
it's going to happen.
It's going to happen, but you are making people you are over asserting the fact. I mean, everybody knows that even Brazil to play with Nigeria will give them an edge, but that's the picture I see of a Trump. And also in the international community, everybody is talking about climate change, but he has gone to a point. The person that will be a secretary on environment is somebody that is totally anti-climate change, and he also said during the election that that climate change is a ploy to siphon money to scare people. But this is a reality that this is science, and it's what you see every day. But he doesn't believe in all those things, and so he's going to put America in such a difficult position, and I'm waiting to see how he will react to because of the euphoria of the inauguration today. You probably not notice that all those things are going on, although he will get security briefings. When it gets to the situation room and critical decisions are to be taken, I hope we'll see a Trump that will be presidential and listen to all sides, just like Obama did when, I mean, the capture and the defeat of Osama bin Laden was being shown live, right in the Situation Room. I mean, it was a serious decision taken by Obama, which could have gone, it would have brought his image or the image of America to disrepute if anything had gone wrong. So we want to see how a Trump will manage such situations, because we are going to be getting there sooner than we expect.
All right, the next 48 hours will tell. Still to come on Journalists Hangout, Adama Barrow sworn in as the Gambian president as Yahya Jammeh sits tight. More of this after this time out. Stay with us. Welcome back. Gambia's embattled leader Yahya Jammeh has asked the West African bloc ECOWAS for an extension of a midday deadline to leave power until 4 p.m. local time. Meanwhile, ECOWAS troops are spurring for battle following the inauguration of the winner of the Gambian presidential election, Adama Barrow, as president. The troops have crossed the border into the Gambia as part of regional efforts to support the democratically elected president in a showdown with the incumbent Yahya Jammeh. The Nigerian military said it was also deploying troops to the Gambia as part of a standby force assembled by the West African Union ECOWAS to enforce the result of the December election. However, ECOWAS announced late on Thursday that it would halt its military operation to give a final chance to mediation efforts to the Gambia now, gentlemen. Maybe we should start from Yahya Jammeh appearing to soft pedal, asking for more time until 4 p.m. Has he been intimidated into this state of things?
I think Yahya Jammeh must have seen the handwriting of the wall. You know, he knows what he has. Even the army chief of staff, or I mean, the what do you call him? The chief of defense staff of the Gambian armed forces said there is no way they can withstand the strength of the ECOWAS forces. I don't know what he has. So he must have seen it, and he's biding his time to see what are the maneuvers he can do to be able to give himself a kind of soft landing. So asking for more time may be at least to be able to get his things, whatever remains of his personal effects, out of the Gambian
before he exits.
But should he have taken us to this level? Initially we saw a man who, in spite of the garbage surrounding his presidency, seemed to have seen the need to be a statesman. But all of a sudden something happened, and he just, squandered that goodwill he would have had. Yeah. So I think it's the tragedy of the African leaders. We're just talking about the American system. In spite of what we feel about Obama or Hillary Clinton, there is a system. There is smooth transition. You see Obama leading Donald Trump to the inauguration grant, and there is a kind of camaraderie,
carrying him along ahead of the inauguration.
This I don't know when, but I think the intervention of the ECOWAS community too is also a kind of signal to Africa that Africa will no longer, tolerate that kind of nonsense that's going on in Gambia. This man, I don't know, maybe it's his educational background or whatever is making him do the, but we don't want this kind of nonsense. It's bringing a lot of opprobrium upon the sensibilities of Africans. And if he had had the opportunity and he didn't use it, whatever comes to him. Now, what he feared, maybe he wanted soft landing, he didn't want to be prosecuted. I don't know whether he still has the kind of goodwill, enough goodwill for that not to happen once Adama Barrow entrenched himself in power. So, but it's a lesson for whoever is going to be there next to be able to know when to quit.
Well, Jammeh's idiosyncrasies apart, really, where is the principle of sovereignty and non-interference in all of this, Asupo? True.
That's right.
It's difficult, once it comes to that. But everybody knows that sovereignty definitely plays a major role, But why we are having this situation is because of the man Jammeh. You understand? I think it's because of him. He has considered defeat.
He had considered defeat.
Which would have made him a statesman today. Then he decided to, make a U-turn. So, but the central thing is, so many people very few people are the ones that bring in the issue of sovereignty and all. I think the world has come to a point where everybody is thinking more about peace than war. Because if you now begin to say, okay, the state, Zambia as a state, needs sovereignty, we'll now be talking about war. Because we now insist that, okay, Jammeh, since you say, okay, the National Assembly has given you an extension for 3 months for you to stay so that you'll be able to, go ahead with your case and begin to talk about sovereignty of the state, Gambia. Then Jammeh would have, sent out his men. The army chief who before I came in, has actually considered his allegiance. Is now he has recognized Barrow as president. Wouldn't have even come to play. So, but we are leaving sovereignty. The world is now leaving that in quotes.
But really,
the world is living that.
Let's be honest with ourselves.
The world is living that.
ECOWAS, the African Union, have not had a similar scenario where they would have tested might and their commitment to democracy on the continent in other parts of Africa, like DRC, for instance, like Congo, for instance. Now, if such scenario played out in these countries, in Burundi, will you have an ECOWAS rising to the occasion?
Look, it depends on the region.
Let's not forget that Gambia
an African Union
is smaller in size than Lagos. Majid, please take that.
No, actually, I think the issue of sovereignty here is people would look for excuses. The issue of sovereignty here is secondary. The primary thing is they have a constitution, and this man, Yahya Jammeh, is 51 years old. He has been in power for the past 22 years, which means he actually seized power at the age of 30-something. So now you appointed an electoral commission that conducted an election where you lost, and now you are saying you don't believe in that commission. That aside, now he is a part of the treaty signed by ECOWAS leaders that there will be a smooth transition from one government to the other. And we have seen that played out in Ghana, in Republic of Benin, and even lately in Nigeria. Nobody expected that it could happen in Nigeria. So if it can happen in Nigeria, and that's true.
And I've been told to remind you, gentlemen, that in June 1993 also, where was ECOWAS when the election in Nigeria was annulled?
You see, it was a different ballgame then. MK Abiola was sworn in at Ekpetedo, not at, probably if MKO had gone to a Nigerian embassy overseas, and recall that even that election was annulled midway, but Bangida didn't allow the result of the election to be concluded. So there's a slightly different scenario here. There was an election, conclusive,
yes, and
announced, and he considered defeat, only for him to make a 360. It's not even a U-turn. He made a 360. When Adam Abaro said he would probe him.
He got scared.
But now you must have seen that the capacity of the Gambian army is not even as strong as what OPC will do in the Ikorodu local government.
Yes.
Absolutely. So it's easy to intimidate the Gambia.
Even the police in Lagos State alone can overrun the Gambian army. So he knows that is why he's bidding for time. So he's been begging.
He was just bidding for
time.
He's been begging for time. He's been begging
You
salary.
know what? I would like to take us back.
It's
First,
a question of
you
might.
mentioned 93. We should know that West Africa and the rest of Africa, it's been a learning process there. There's been a lot that has happened democratically in Africa. Nigeria too has played a part in sending a kind of message to Africa, the rest of Africa. So between 93 and now, how many years do we have there? So there has been a kind of revolution. It might not be there yet, but at least changes are happening. So if Africa failed to act in 1993, we can put it on the doorsteps of perhaps the kind of situation we were then. We are still just getting out of that militarization, that tendency. But we have a different Africa. Note that we are in a kind of information superhighway age in which a lot of awareness. Even when a leader wants to misbehave, he knows that right from everybody has something to do about the way they are governed. You know what social media has done. So there is that kind of groundswell of feelings about democracy. So things have changed. The situation in 1993 is quite different from what we have in 2017. So that is the reason why we're having the kind of, solidarity of West African leaders for Adama Barrow. Now you're talking of sovereignty. I don't think anything has happened to the sovereignty of Gambia, in quotes, in the sense that there was a process. An election was done. Somebody was declared legally, legitimately the leader. If there was going to be anybody flouting or going against the sovereignty of Gambia, it was one individual who called himself Alhaji Doctor, Professor, whatever, Yaya Jammeh, who all of a sudden just felt he had enough power to be able to stand against the sovereignty of the people of Gambia. And it is the onus is on the leadership of West Africa to try and assert, is not to go against, but to assert that sovereignty. That there has been a process, an election has been held, somebody has been declared legally the winner. Anybody trying to go against that is the enemy of Gambia. And that's what Jammeh was trying to do to his people. But I think taking that action is a signal to whoever wants to come up with the Jammeh treatment in future.
Good. That's where I'm headed. Whoever wants to come up with the Jammeh approach in the future. Now let's look at Zimbabwe. Over 90-year-old Robert Mugabe is planning to return to contest the election again. Let's look at DRC, Congo, where there's crisis at the moment. Let's look at Burundi. If similar drama plays out in the near future in these countries, are we going to see an African Union an ECOWAS, well, African Union now, the bigger picture, rise to the occasion like this?
Just like Mr. Shola just said now, we are talking about sovereignty. The sovereignty belongs to the people. If the people decide that Mugabe should come back, and he has been declared winner, there's nothing African Union can do about it.
Yeah.
And if the people of Zimbabwe or any other country decide to elect any other person besides the sit-tight leader?
I tell you, Buki, AU and the regional bloc will find a way to remove Mugabe because the people have decided, okay, enough is enough. I think Africa...
And you share, but did you share Asukwa's optimism?
No, basically, it is left to the people to take their destiny into their hands. The people of Gambia did that by voting out. They resisted. They resisted is a rigging machinery. So if Zimbabweans can also rise up and face the Mugabe machinery and vote him out, and it's clear, despite all his imagination. I learned that he actually he has this thing he uses during elections, photocomic papers, which predetermines the result of elections.
Manipulate the system.
So if they can beat him to that, and the opposition can get the people to vote him out, then he will have no choice. The African Union. Have you forgotten that the United Nations just endorsed what ECOWAS is doing in Gambia? So I see. No nation can be, and especially in Africa, can claim to be more powerful than the United Nations forces. It's only the Americas and the Soviet Unions that goes against such, and they go scot-free.
I look forward to that time. I wish I could share in your optimism, because some African leaders are not deploying rigging machinery now. They are using constitutional machinery. So there isn't even an opportunity for election. But moving ahead now, after taking his oath of office, Barrow said there were no losers in the elections. He called the polls and his swearing in a victory for the Gambian nation. Now let's listen to the excerpt from the new Gambian president.
I therefore call on all civilians and military personnel of the state to support my presidency, since it is built on a constitutional foundation. They are assured that they will not be subjected to any injustice and discrimination, but will be provided with better working conditions and terms of service. As the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, I call on all personnel of the Armed Forces and other security agencies to remain loyal to the Constitution and the Republic. I command the Chief of the Defense Staff and other officers of high command to demonstrate their loyalty to me as their Commander-in-Chief, without any delay. I command all members of the armed forces to remain in their barracks. Those found wanting or in possession of firearms without my order shall be considered.
President-elect there of the Gambia, Adama Barrow, during the inauguration, and that was his inaugural speech. Now, moving ahead now, Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo is now in charge of the Presidential Villa, Abuja. This is in the absence of President Muhammadu Buhari, who has just proceeded on a 3-week vacation to the United Kingdom. President Buhari is expected back on February the 6th, but until then, Osinbajo remains the acting president. Now, gentlemen, in the past, when President Muhammadu Buhari proceeded on a similar leave, many have commended his statesmanship, his ability to hand over executive powers to his vice, Yemi Osinbajo. And they have said that really he has demonstrated that it's not about him, it's about the nation. So we don't have a president who is threatened by anything that could happen in his absence. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, because this is not the first time it's happening. It happened February 5th last year, 2016, when the president went on vacation, on medical vacation in UK to treat AI infection. And the VP, Yemi Osinbajo, took charge, and all the while he has been the one in charge of the economy, and he's been He's been battling that. He's been doing his best. So I think it just shows that we are becoming more institutionalized. The presidency of Nigeria is no more about one person. It's about the office. It's about the joint tickets which they are running. It's about having a capable a deputy who is your vice president. And it's about trust. In other climes, you see situations where the president moves with the office. And you see a situation where even when the president travels, if he goes for like 3-4 weeks, he still goes and when
he's signing checks and documents from his hospital bed or his vacation.
We saw that when late Yaradua was in charge.
Hold the thought there. We have Mahmoud from Lagos. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, you're welcome to Journalist Hangout.
Yeah, thank you very much for the wonderful job you are doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, in fact, the time of Jammeh is over. From now till 12 midnight, he's going to leave. His plane is at the airport. The engine is on. and that will send a signal to Shiite leaders that if you mess up, ECOWAS will send you packing or African Union will send you packing. And if you refuse, the United Nations will also send you packing. Good luck to Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mahmoud, for your contribution.
You know, he's talking as if he's right there. The plane is at the tarmac, running the engine, waiting for him. So basically, I think we have a situation in Nigeria where our democracy has come to stay, and that's why you can see the people's power. Buhari was elected as a popular president, defeated Jonathan. And you can see the rapport between the president and the vice president, Yemi Osinbajo. I mean, there are some speculations of a frosty relationship in the early days of the government, but all that has been put behind them. And I think the VP is quite capable of running the economy in the absence of the president. Although in some instances there must be some key decisions that we have to wait for the president to come, because we were expecting that the much touted cabinet reshuffle will happen in January. I mean, he gave that hint. The presidency gave that hint to the Senate late last year that it will happen in January. But as it is now, I doubt if that will happen. It might have to wait till the president comes back in February.
All right. We have another caller from Borno State. I didn't quite get the caller's name. Good evening.
Good evening.
You're welcome. Go ahead with your contribution. Make it brief, please.
Sambo.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm very happy to hear about all this, the election attending Gambia. But what is happening there is, I think the people from Gambia, they don't have any problem with the president. That's why they did not come out and start telling.
Yep. Go ahead.
So I think basically it's a good development for us in Nigeria that we have a smooth takeover, so to say. I mean, while the president has done the needful by transmuting his powers to the vice president through the National Assembly. No, I think it's a good development.
But then there is the concern about the president's state of health. This is the third leave of absence that he's taking in about 13 or 14 months. Shola, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's really getting scary. But what one would say, the president is a human being, maybe because considering his age, you know, he should be about 74. How old is he now? And then with the pressure of the presidency, if you look at Fashola, who wasn't running the presidency, we know the way he was transmogrified, so to say, before he left the governorship of Lagos. So the pressure, and you know, the times are quite unusual. The recession has also brought so much pressure, you know, what is coming from the citizenry. So somehow, but you know, it also brings to mind this tendency, because one of the campaign promises was to ensure that the tendency of leaders to travel abroad for medical treatment is reduced. If I'm right, some 4 billion or thereabouts was earmarked for the ASO clinic. So if you have such, what is that thing that is driving the president all the time outside the shores of the country for medical treatment? Is it not time we have a national hospital that's supposed to be one of the best in the world? And then, I mean, what is the problem that the presidency cannot really look beyond this tendency to have to rush abroad, bring us to some form of ridicule that are there not enough balms in Gilead to be able to take care of the ill health of the president, that we have to be running out, considering the cost, considering even the idea of the president of the republic not being around all the time. So a lot needs to be considered, I mean, by the president. I wish him quick recovery, but he should also be somebody on top of what he said earlier about executives running out of the country every time they have, like the last time he had earache or whatever. But I hope it is just air infection. Because the thing that will make you to want to continue to go abroad, I hope it's not more than what we are seeing. But whatever it is, I wish him quick recovery. But let something be done about our health facilities in Nigeria.
Interesting rhetorics there, Shola, and I'd like us to pursue that point. We have another caller from Taraba State. Hello. Good evening. Go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, but it's not about as a how or that perhaps police because I thought that
Peter, the line is not clear. Perhaps you would have to call us back. Yes, Asuko Shola was saying a lot about what could be the problem, why there isn't there enough balm in Gilead for, you know, the presidency to explore in terms of the president's health. And then, the report talks about how the president is going for routine checks and all of that. Now, is the presidency being honest enough about the president's state of health? I mean, they owe it a responsibility to the general public to let them know what exactly is the problem with the health of the #1 citizen in the country. What are your thoughts?
Just like we've been saying, the pressure is just so much, and considering his age, he is going there for vacation as well as for medical checkup. And I remember when the ear infection story actually came, he said that he has a personal physician who is based in the UK. So while he's doing his vacation, he'll be taking care of himself, health-wise. So if it happens to be maybe malaria, I'm not sure the president will want to fly from Aso Rock to the UK for malaria. He will want to do that in-house, in Nigeria. But this is taking his vacation. He needs that rest so that he'll be able to come, reshuffle his cabinet, and take us out of recession.
All right. Majid, your last word. Has the presidency been honest enough about the president's health?
No, I think so far so good. They've been able to tell us each time he goes for, tell us in clear terms that he is going for medical vacation. They are not just saying he's going on vacation, which he has every right to go for. Moshiba just came from his own vacation and he's taking over from the president. So I think on the health of the president, they are transparent enough as far as they can reveal to us.
They can. Okay, we'll mark that. That's all on Journalist Hangout today. Join us again tomorrow for another interesting edition of the program. You can watch the repeat broadcast tonight at 11. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on YouTube at youtube.com/TBC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I am Bukola Samuel Wenimo. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.